Therein lies the dichotomy between pure random and controlled random. And I think I'm getting into this mindset here where it's kind of a controlled random thing. I'm seeing the right pie chart or the right bar graph, the right roll distribution, but I'm seeing different clusters. Fascinating. And here's a question for you. And I'm going to share my screen to talk to you about this in a minute, but I want to talk about randomness. Okay, so in our Daily Dose of DI, the topic of randomness came up from the guy, Myopia Movie, who's doing all the math, right? The guy's a mathematics professor. He knows his math. He's taking all the rolls, he's doing all the algorithms and telling me where we are. He's like, you're so close to random. It's crazy out of 1,200 rolls, just how close to random you actually are. And if you look at it, he's pretty much right. I'm going to show you something here. I'm going to go into the numbers just a teeny tiny bit, not really the numbers, but I want to show you some results. I want to talk about what controlled random is. And I think I'm going to illustrate for you what my goals are by where I currently am. So let me switch to the view here that shows you the full screen. And let me dial in. Let me switch over here to the report screen. And this is the reporting screen for the morning practice show, the morning show. This is the reporting screen over here. This is the nighttime practice show. I'm going to show you a couple of things. Okay. First of all, the nighttime practice show, if you look at the bar chart here, the bell curve looks just like random, or like random should be. Everything is kind of, look at these. They're all so close to each other. There's a couple of outliers, right? I'm throwing less 8s than I should. I'm throwing less 7s than I should. I'm throwing a few less 6s than I should. But essentially, at night on my controlled shooting, I look very much like random. In fact, my box number ratio is within 1 of where it should be after 1,200 rolls. My inside numbers are lagging by just 20 rolls. So we're really, really close to where we should, quote unquote, be on a random. In the morning, these completely just me hucking the dice down here, we're basically on the point. We're essentially random. Like everything here is exactly where it should be. There's almost no deviations. Here's where the controlled shooting piece comes in, right? Check this out. I want you to look at this. In the morning, on the completely random hucking them tosses, okay? Here's where I'm going to put my glasses on. Here's where the rubber hits the road. The red here, this is the number of box hits per shooter, okay? And these are actually reduced by 1. So the red is actually 0, not 1, because it counts the point being set. I'm not counting the points being set, okay? So 0 box hits, 1 box hit, 2 box hits. We don't make money, right? To my way of thinking, until box hit number 3. Box hit number 3 should be your strategy's kind of break even, let's go for it kind of point. We don't hit that until almost halfway. Almost half the rolls do not get to box hit number 3 in a random shooting thing, okay? And again, the bell curve looks perfect. On the evening show, where I'm doing a controlled toss, again, my bell curve looks exactly like random. My distribution is exactly what you would expect random to be. However, I'm at box hit number 3 here. I'm getting there at about maybe the 20, this is probably about, I don't know, 25 or 30%, maybe a little more than 30%. About 30% of the time I'm not there, but about 70% of the time I am. Whereas over here on the random, it's about half. So have we moved the needle in a controlled random? It is completely random. I'm throwing controlled, but I'm getting more box hits more often. I'm getting to box hit 3 more often by a pretty significant factor. That's a good 10 or 15% of the time more than we should. That's an interesting little thing right there. If you look at the overall roll length, the same thing, right? The Mendoza line here is 8, or actually it's 8, right? 8 rolls is where you ought to be, right? SRR, well, I guess 6 is where the SRR is, right down here. At about half the time, we get to a roll length of 6. Randomly, we get to a roll length of 6. We actually don't get it until after halfway. So it's about 45% of the time we get to roll 6. So yeah, I think it's not a big shift, right? It's a small, and I think Duracell will be the first one to tell you this in chat, and you better back me up, but it doesn't take much. In a controlled shot, it doesn't take much to make a big impact, right? We're about 1 or 2% off of quote unquote random in terms of the groupings of numbers. Look at the variance that is. A couple of percentage points is a big deal. And getting to, I'm on the practice one, the controlled shot, getting to roll 4 15 or 10% of the time more often than you would with a completely random toss, that's a huge deal. That means I'm betting the 320 across that Greg came up with, right? All these 320 strategies. On 3 hits, I'm in profit. Over here on the randomly, 3 hits, I'm not getting there. That's an interesting takeaway. Now check this out. And again, what I'm really looking for, you know this, is face tracking, okay? One of the variants that I'm trying to create with the controlled toss, how come I can't get there, is how many times am I seeing 6s and 1s, right? I'm setting the dice, 1 6, 1 6. I'm throwing them, trying to control the faces, okay? In my evening work, my controlled shooting, here's where we are. The bottom or top is 46.6%, which means I get one of them is a 6 or a 1, the other one is something else. Okay, that's the dream scenario, right? This should happen 44% of the time. So I'm 2.6% above the expectation. Actually, I think it's 44.4. We're at 46.6, so we're 2.2% over expectation on bottom or top, not both. Okay. The other ones here are 22 and 24 for the top only or the bottom only. Look at the difference of this, 46.6% to the random shooter. Morning show randomness, 44.77. It should be 44.44. We are exactly random in the morning, which what you'd expect, right? This is top or bottom. That means 6 or 1. This is only reporting on the 6s and 1s. So pure random is exactly where it ought to be. Controlled random is exactly where I want it to be. So I'm upping it a little bit. Okay. So my question to go back is this: is controlled random a reality? I would say to you, kinda. Right? My bell curve, my distribution of numbers is basically what it ought to be. It is exactly what you'd expect the random distribution of numbers of 6s, numbers of 8s, numbers of 9s, numbers of 4s to be. It's exactly where it is, what it should basically be. However, my groupings have been different. My nighttime groupings have been, more often than not, I'm not PSOing. More often than not, I'm getting 3 in the roll versus my random shot. It's interesting that the same number of rolls and the same distribution comes to you in different clumps, different clusters of outcomes. And I've been talking about the clustered outcomes for a year now, and I'm starting to see it. Again, it's a small variation. It's not a variant that's like 15% of the time I'm awesome. It's 2%. But you can make 2% work for you if you're betting smart, and it's actually repeatable. I'm 1,000 rolls in. I got 20,000 rolls to go. So we're not quite there yet. I think it's definitely interesting. In old number 7, my friend Bob, chicken feeders always had the longest rolls. We don't want to call them chicken feeders, but folks that are throwing it without trying to make any kind of a set, I say this all the time, those folks do have a lot of long rolls. And if you look, actually, here's more supportive evidence of that. To go back to the reporting screen, this will be interesting for you. To support that point, I say to you all the time, the random thrower is more likely to throw 2 and 50 than the controlled shooter is. Look at the numbers, okay? The random shooter, my morning show, right? We've got 16 zeros, right? PSO 16 times. And again, we're only getting 3 rolls long in this segment here. But look at the roll lengths, right? We've got a lot of zeros, we got a lot of whatevers, and we got this 32, 33, 30, these huge ass rolls we've had in the morning, these amazing long runs. A 38 roller, a 33, and a 32, that's fantastic, right? We actually have 2 of those. My controlled shooting, look at my roll lengths over here, right? Less PSOs relative to the number of points that we set, and my top is only 32, and I've only got it once. Like these big, long, awesome rolls here, the 21, 32, they don't happen very often for me. In my controlled shots, most of my rolls are in the butter zone here. Most of my rolls are in the 6 to 15 range, like I want them to be. I'm not seeing the big rolls on my controlled. The random shooter is seeing more big rolls and more small rolls. And therein lies the dichotomy between pure random and controlled random. And I think I'm getting into this mindset here where it's kind of a controlled random thing. I'm seeing the right pie chart or the right bar graph, the right roll distribution, but I'm seeing different clusters. Fascinating. Again, we're 1,000 rolls in. There's nothing definitive yet. Nothing here is significant until we have much more numbers. And I have an actual math guy run algorithms on this thing. But for right now, my eyes are showing me we're making a little bit, we're moving the needle ever so slightly. And I think that's kind of cool. And I'm proud of how that's going actually. So there is that.